Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, along with Denny Carter. Not allowed to tell you if it's Monday or Tuesday. Not allowed to tell you who told me I'm not allowed to tell you. Don't ask. We're here to talk about all the biggest news from Week 14. We got shenanigans with Tee Higgins. We got the Falcons making a quarterback switch because they want people to remember they exist. We have J.K. Dobbins having a 120-yard day. Got the Dolphins struggling in the bright lights. They couldn't handle the peacock lights. Couldn't handle it. They choked. Bad deal. Dameon Pierce is hurt or something. Seahawks backfield, Jordan Mason, so on and so forth. Thankfully, not many injuries. So not a ton of waiver wire fallout, Denny, but there was one injury. We didn't really know it was an injury since he wasn't on what is known as the injury report.
Yes.
Tee Higgins, where he apparently injured his hamstring in Thursday's practice, got in 2 limited sessions, and then was removed from the injury report. Is when you do when a player is not hurt. And then he played 1 snap against the Cleveland Browns, and we're all very angry considering a class action lawsuit.
Yeah. Curious for sure. Zach Taylor, head coach of the Bengals, said, quote, "We didn't want him to open up and run. That doesn't mean he couldn't run a goal line fade or the 1 yard on the 1 yard line. There was no sense in ruling him out. I didn't see any reason for that." And as you said, Pat, in your Monday column, which everybody can find at NBCSportsEdge.com, that's not how this works. And we should expect the NFL to confirm as much with probably a hefty fine, because you can't not have a guy on the injury report and then not play him, say, yes, he was hurt, but he could have re-entered, but I wasn't going to declare him out. This was my game. The Bengals-Browns game was my game. And I was waiting, scrolling through tweets for, I don't know, 90 minutes saying, when is it going to come out? When are they going to say Tee Higgins declared out in all caps? That's what I'm looking for. Out against the Browns. Didn't happen. And then the sideline reporter for CBS said, coach's decision. He may or may not come back.
So wait, they never even declared him out during the game? I don't think I realized that.
No.
Wow, really? By the way, thanks for shouting out my column. Sorry it's a little shorter than usual this week. I'm a little under the weather, in case you couldn't have been able to tell.
But the best thing is that this is only the 3rd week in a row.
Don't make me laugh. Yeah, it's
No, I mean, we're hoping that this is the final week. Yeah. Maybe you'll get into a 4th week, but probably not.
I'll tell you what, it's quite a flu this year. That's all I can say. Quite a flu, and we're quite mad at who's the Zach Taylor, because yeah, I mean, I think we're going to get into some real Bill Clinton. Like, it depends on what the nature of is with the injury report,
right?
Because he'd be like, well, I thought the whole point of the injury report is like if they're not going to play, he's gonna play. That doesn't mean I can't leave him off the injury report and have him play 1 snap.
He played, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that's going to be like his defense with the NFL. But I do think this. So they just got fined for bending the rules by faking injuries. They got fined like heavily, like $500,000, I think. And you'd have to assume another because if every team starts approaching the injury report this way, it would be total chaos.
Right. Think of what Belichick could do with this caveat.
Yeah. It just flies in the face of the spirit of the rule.
Yeah. By the way, I have to say, as a college football DFS thought leader, and I kid for those who don't follow me on Twitter or whatever, I kid. I'm terrible at it, but I do play some college football DFS. You would be shocked if you were to play college football DFS, because this thing with Tee Higgins happens every week to multiple teams where no one knows, because here's the thing, Pat. The media, they do not cover college football teams.
Well,
it's amazing.
Even the ones though that do the college rules, they don't have to do like a real injury.
And so you don't know who's going to be under center. No. You don't know who's going to be leading the backfield. No one knows anything unless you know the towel boy for one of the teams, and then maybe you know. But this Tee Higgins thing kind of struck me kind of funny that way.
Yeah, there's at least every week 5 teams in the AP top 25 who do not reveal their quarterback until the opening snap. Like, wow, I don't know why Maryland's number 3 quarterback's starting the game, but he is. So,
but he is, I guess.
Yeah, he is.
Or this running back who wasn't even on the DraftKings player pool is starting, and he's going to get 25 carries.
Yeah, but producer Adam reminds us to, by the way, to tell you, be sure to watch the Big Ten on NBC next year.
Yeah, right. You should definitely watch that, I would say.
You actually should. I mean, I don't watch the Big Ten, so I won't be watching. I hate the Big Ten, but
I love it.
A lot of you, I'm an SEC guy, which I hated the SEC until I was in it. My school,
right? I was gonna say well,
I'm still, I'm not calling myself an SEC guy. It'd be a bit much. I was a Big 12 guy, like tried and true. Like that was part of my personal identity.
I grew up a diehard ACC guy.
Yeah.
I didn't watch anything else, basketball, football, whatever. I did not watch anything else except for ACC stuff. And when Maryland went to the Big Ten, I was like, who am I? I questioned like the nature of the universe. I didn't understand.
That really is a horrible part of conference relay. It really was part of my personal identity, being like a Big 12 member. I know it's all about the money.
It is. Unfortunately, it does boil down to that more often than not, I'm told.
More often than not. Boils down to being good, ? At quarterback in Atlanta, Denny. Should we try that one again? It was the bye week for the Falcons. They announced they're finally making the switch from Marcus Mariota to Desmond Ridder. They took the Mariota experiment as far as it could possibly go. I don't know if you can even really call it an experiment. It was kind of just letting Marcus Mariota be Marcus Mariota and running the same experiment that was run for several years in Tennessee. We got a little more of that like wild hair running that we never got in Tennessee.
Right.
He was a much more effective runner. 438 yards rushing the season by far. Most of his career. Just the next step never came as a passer. Now they're going to Desmond Ridder. I mean, it's too little too late, obviously, for the Falcons season. Not that it would have ever mattered to begin with. Is there anything here for fantasy, either from like a super flex Ridder perspective or just a Drake London perspective, or maybe when Kyle Pitts comes off injured reserve? I have to double check when that is happening while you're talking.
So I want to say first that I do think, Mariota's time with the team obviously is over. I do think that Mariota could be fun for fantasy purposes in a slightly more modernized, less archaic offense, because of that willingness to run.
Nah, he's not good enough.
No, he's not. He's not good. I'm not saying he's good, but I mean, if he's in a high volume offense, I think that it could. I
think if he was in a high volume offense, it would just immediately become a low volume offense because they wouldn't want it to be high volume.
Possibly, but yeah. Speaking of volume, he averaged 4.5 rushing attempts per game. He was 5th in the league among quarterbacks with in rushing attempts. Now, if you assume that Ridder is not going to run nearly as much as Mariota, and I think that that's a pretty safe assumption, then you will have a little more, not a lot more, but a little more drop back volume for the Falcons. So you have maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 more drop backs per game. That has a small impact on the on the main receivers, on London, on Olamide Zaccheaus, on other guys that we know are NFL players, and so that's the main impact there, is that you're going to get a few more passing attempts per game for these Falcons receivers.
And by the way, I meant Kyle Pitts is done for the year officially. I couldn't remember if he is. I didn't know if he was a candidate to be activated from injured reserve. He is not, but I mean, Ridder, I kind of remembered the knock on Ridder coming out of Cincinnati was that he's like so textbook that it was like almost mechanical. Like he was almost like rigid. Mm-hmm. I definitely kind of got the sense when I watched film of him, and by film, I mean 3 to 4 YouTube cut ups. And
sure.
He doesn't do anything all that impressive. I mean, I guess maybe there has to be a little more passing volume, because why would there not be, like you said? And hopefully that's good for Drake London. I mean, maybe it's good for PPR scamming with Olamide Zaccheaus, but
right.
It's hard to. I mean, I could see things getting worse instead of better for the Falcons.
So I one thing that I think we have discovered the hard way this year is that teams quarterbacked by guys who are ready and willing to flee the pocket at any moment. It can be tough action for anybody but the alpha receiver. So in Buffalo, you have Stefon Diggs and no one else. In Baltimore, you have, I guess, Mark Andrews and no one else. In Atlanta, You cannot produce that kind of volume if your quarterback is dropping back and then taking off and therefore eliminating that pass attempt. It just crushes potential volume. So I think we have to be aware of that going into next year. It's something that I will bookmark myself.
Yeah. So Ritter, I mean, he was never a terror. I mean, he was a decent passer. He was a decent runner.
Yeah.
He was just kind of like, he's like a classic, like, gosh, what is the sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
The whole is summier than the part of its whole.
Yes, basically wouldn't have very high expectations for Ritter individually or for the Falcons.
Right. He's a perfectly mid quarterback. Desmond Ritter.
Man, you got to stop using that.
I will never stop using mid. I will use it until my kids think I'm cool. 61% completion rate in the preseason, 7.7 yards per attempt. He threw 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in 3 appearances. So he is perfectly acceptable as a, kind of like, I don't want to say mid-tier, bottom level NFL starter.
He seems like a 61% completion percentage waiting to happen. That feels like a very, very Desmond Ritter statistic to me.
We have a viewer who smartly says, "Are you saying he's Desmond Midder?"
Oh my gosh.
And yes, I
am. Dear God. Denny's kids must rein him in.
Yeah.
They must rein him in. Denny J.K. Dobbins did the only thing we didn't think was possible, make the Ravens backfield, make the Ravens offense in general just more confusing. He comes back. He leads on Sunday, 15 carries for 120 yards, second most rushing yards of his entire career. One of the best statistical performances by any Ravens running back all season. He had the bulk of that yardage was a 44-yard carry in the first quarter. But, as people were kind of talking about, you could almost see him, like, not even trying to joke. Like, you could almost see him, like, dragging his left leg on that run. Like, he didn't look anywhere close to 100% healthy, did not look anywhere close to, like, his pre-injury form. And so people will get excited about the stat line, but is it kind of misleading? Should we still just be treating J.K. Dobbins as like a volatile flex? How should we treat J.K. Dobbins after a 120-yard day?
I think he's a fine flex. I don't know how volatile he'll be because he should be more of a floor play. I would think he split the backfield basically against the Steelers. 13 carries for Gus Edwards, 15 for J.K. Dobbins. The difference was Dobbins ripped off a 44-yard run. Dobbins ran 10 routes to 2 for Edwards, but really no running back, especially for as long as Lamar Jackson is sideline, no Baltimore running back is going to see any significant work as a pass catcher out of that backfield. I will say that Dobbins, just looking at his season-long numbers, and it's kind of been kind of a scattershot season for him coming in, going on IR a couple times, getting hurt in game once. He has been pretty good in nearly 5 yards per carry on 50 rushing attempts. And then, I will say that we're going to need Tyler Huntley back for week 15 if we're going to be confident in anybody in this backfield, because teams, I'm guessing, will not respect Anthony Brown under center.
I was going to say, I'm shocked you're not trying to sell Anthony Brown as a streamer, actually.
No, I have found the limit of my sicko plays.
Wow, I didn't think that was possible. But yeah, I mean, Dobbins, it just, I felt bad because it should have been a highlight. And to me, it was like a concerning piece of footage.
Yeah, I mean, he was looked like he was dragging that bad
I couldn't even remember which leg he had hurt. And I was watching the highlight and it looks like he's carrying his left leg.
Yeah, didn't look good. I remember just as an aside, I remember Jamal Charles coming back from his first ACL tear. He broke a long run down the sideline in overtime against the Saints, like a 70, 80-yard touchdown where he just let it loose. And he said that was the first time that he had really cut it loose and gone all out sprint since his ACL injury. So it does take time, a lot of time for these guys to get all the way back where they have the confidence. It's really a mental thing, a confidence to go all out like that. I don't know if Dobbins is there.
Well, yeah, maybe he knocked off some of the final rust with that, actually. Like you said, he has at least been going station to station very well. And I mean, part of the system is when the Ravens are going well, you can plug any back in and they'd average 5 yards per carry, but he has been plugged in and is averaging 5 yards per carry. So definitely safe. No more buys, all 32 teams playing for the fantasy playoffs, but we'll have the ranking show on Tuesday. I'm sure we'll have J.K. Dobbins inside the top 36, aka an RB3, aka an acceptable flex. Denny, the Dolphins, just a bad time on NBC on Sunday night. Real bad. Back-to-back games now, like kind of like spotlight games against the 49ers and against the Chargers, where they just have not performed well. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries in the process. Terran Armstead was missing against the 49ers, which kind of derailed the whole operation. He wasn't 100% against the Chargers. Tyreek Hill gets banged up against the Chargers. Jalen Waddle playing through a fibula injury, which again is the most bizarre injury designation I've ever seen. Didn't seem like he was anywhere close to 100%, because if he was, why was he not more involved in the short game? Jeff Wilson gets carded. Are we concerned, Denny? Are we concerned about the Dolphins' struggles?
Right. I mean, just outside of a real football perspective, this is a problem. It's a problem for fantasy. I mean, it just is, and they're playing the Bills this week. That's tougher. It's way tougher than the Chargers. Like, that's a horrible matchup.
Order of magnitude. And it's in Buffalo.
It's in Buffalo.
I believe it's supposed to be snowing.
Listen, as a reformed former 90s Dolphins fan, let me tell you what happened to the Dolphins in Buffalo in December. It's not good. It's not good. That's going to be a complete slaughter from start to finish. I mean, Tua, it makes, I was tweeting today, I know you'll be shocked. I was tweeting, it makes no sense that Tua was, coming into this game was the second most accurate quarterback in the NFL per completion rate over expected, a really good measure of a guy's accuracy. He was minus 21% in CPOE against the Chargers, and the Chargers were banged up. And even at full health, the Chargers secondary is middling. So I don't get it.
Yeah, that was a bizarre performance from the Dolphins, and it was almost like they came into the game like they were obsessed with working, thought they had an edge in the deep game, but then they just didn't, and then they couldn't pivot off of it. So I did not understand why they weren't getting more going with the short passing attack. Having a quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa and having him only have 4 completions through 3 quarters or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a horrible game plan.
Yeah.
And, kind of one of the first times maybe the moment looked a little too big for Mike McDaniel, and he did not have a counter punch.
So I actually think that it's concerning for fantasy for a few reasons, and primarily it's because the Dolphins have wrecked teams in the middle of the field. Okay, this is a something that they've exploited all season. I think it's partly because Tua does not have the kind of arm that can get it to the boundary easily and accurately, like a Justin Herbert. But also
Two and on will find you. But
I know that's why I'm actually in hiding. I'm in Argentina, just to give you a tip. But I lost my train of thought here. But
it's somewhere down there.
But he really, that's what they tell me. Tua has been great in the middle of the field, both to Waddle and to Tyreek Hill. And I think that the Chargers may have offered the rest of the league a little bit of a model on how to stop that, and that's going to be a problem for fantasy. They've got to adjust. They've been put on blast now by 2, I guess, good team. I guess the Chargers are a good team. I don't know. I don't think so, but we'll see. I don't really think so either. But producer Adam points out, by the way, BetMGM currently has the Bills as 7.5 point favorites. So the old repressed Dolphins fan in you would say Bills are going to cover that. Yeah. Listen, the Dolphins, they're lounging around in 78-degree Miami, and they have to go up to hellish midwinter Buffalo where the sun goes down at 1 p.m. That stinks. They're done. There's always weird AFC East psychodrama going on between the road trips and the Bills and the Dolphins and the Patriots. And I guess the for a few years in a row, for some reason, the Patriots went down to Miami in December and just got spanked. Yeah. They were too adjusted to winter and just got just destroyed. And even by Adam Gase in Miami. Yeah. The weather thing is real. I remember watching the Merino Dolphins go to Buffalo sometimes in the winter, and every Dolphin would be wearing sleeves, and all the Bills would be sleeveless. And I would think, oh, we have no chance, man. We're done. Wearing sleeves is the game's over before it even begins. We thought the game was over before it even began with the Texans and Dolphins, Denny. But it is the Texans and Cowboys. There you go. We thought it was over before it even began between the Texans and Cowboys, but it wasn't. The Texans kept it surprisingly close.
despite Dameon Pierce suffering an ankle injury. I believe he briefly played through it. Then he departed. Now he's day-to-day. Denny, are you going to get sicko in the Texans backfield this week? Is it? I mean, everyone wants you to say the line, to be frank. A certain season, maybe a certain Texans reserve running back. But
I will not say Benjamin season.
No, I wanted the real thing.
You wanted the real thing. You wanted Rex Burkhead.
I wanted Rex Burkhead season. Yeah.
No, I don't think that's happening. Benjamin looked like the early down back in place of Pierce after his injury. Dare Agumbawale was the pass catching back, and then Burkhead mixed in a little bit. So I don't think that we're going to get our what has become our annual Burkhead breakout, and we've been waiting. We knew it was coming. I don't think we're getting that. There's just too much happening. I think it's an ugly three-way split. I guess, just if game script is going to go haywire for Houston this week against Kansas City.
Ooh. They usually had to go from the Cowboys to the Chiefs.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh. So I would project the Chiefs to win. And I feel like I'm like monitoring an election. We are projecting the Chiefs to win by 40.
I know they started out as at least 14-point favorites.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it's at now.
So I would guess that Dare Agumbawale would be the only viable option and only in PPR because the Texans will probably be forced to drop back a whole bunch.
Yeah, Adam point. They are indeed 14-point road favorites. The Chiefs. Used to be a man with the courage of your convictions, Denny. You're supposed to say Burkhead season.
I wanted to, but the analytics told me I could not.
Yeah, no, thankfully you have to listen to the analytics. So, and I have to listen to the timer in my head, which says we'll be right back after this. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. I'm going to start that over. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen in college football, on the PGA Tour, and in the World Cup. There's also $100,000 up for grabs by guessing the outcome between the Giants and Commanders in our Sunday Night 7 contest. And don't forget, download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It's available in your app store today. Danny, in the promo, we mentioned the World Cup, which you can still catch on Telemundo. The World Cup final, we don't know the participants yet, will be Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Will you be watching, or will you just be grinding DFS lineups?
Yeah, probably that. I actually did not know the World Cup was still going. I thought that had been. I thought that had been determined. No,
they haven't determined the hoister of the World Cup yet, Denny. No, and it's on Telemundo. So if you're gonna watch it in Spanish.
How long does this go on?
Well, the semifinals are on Tuesday, which could be today, and then Wednesday, and the final is Sunday. We're down to 4 teams: Argentina versus Croatia, and France versus Morocco, the first ever African side to make the semifinals of the World Cup.
When you say Croatia, you meant Croatia.
Croatia, that is correct. I like to say Croatia, though.
I just want to make it clear for the viewers that a new country did not emerge overnight.
It's Croatia, but what you're gonna do?
I will be ignorant and say Croatia.
Yeah, there you go. I know all sorts of ways to say European. Like Denmark is actually Danmark. Did you know that?
I don't even believe you just made that up.
Copenhagen is Copenhagen. They have all sorts of crazy. As we know, Munich is München.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. Where you been, dog?
Much to consider about how I pronounce these things.
Where you been? Well, no. I'm saying that's not how Americans are supposed to pronounce them.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, no. Sorry.
It does. I will say one thing that drives me nuts is the American pronunciation of Iran.
I know.
People say Iran. No.
Well, I mean, come on. I'm from the Midwest. I was just taught to say Iran forever.
Well, me too. But then I heard it's not, just say Iran. It's really easy to say. It's really
actually is easier to say.
It is easier.
What would be easier to say, Denny, is just who the Seahawks. There's no transition here for this one whatsoever. I was going to complain Pete Carroll just wouldn't tell us who the starting running back is, but I mean, I think he tried actually.
No, I never believed that. The thing about Tony Jones, are you kidding me?
Oh no, well, he didn't say that. He didn't say that. Yeah, I know. All I'll say about that is anyone who watched the Seahawks in Week 13 and saw Tony Jones knew that Tony Jones would not be starting in Week 14.
Tony Jones, in brief appearances for the Saints last year, was like clearly the worst player in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but he is not good.
No.
He was really bad in Week 13 too.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider picking him up on waivers after watching him play the game of football in Week 13. So
it's like the only time I ever saw a pregame report that was like, this running back is definitely starting for this team at 4:00, and I thought, nope.
Well, I still wonder if that was misconstrued or what.
It was pretty clear.
There was a lot going on there, but it's a short week for the Seahawks. Ken Walker is still up in the air. DJ Dallas is still up in the air. It sounds like Pete Carroll said Ken Walker has a chance to play. The DJ Dallas doesn't. Pete Carroll says so many things. I doubt that Ken Walker is going to play, but we can't rule it out. I mean, they are desperate. They could try to force the issue. Can we possibly go back to the Travis Homer? Well, if Ken Walker does not play, or are we just avoiding the situation at all costs this week?
Yeah, the Seahawks play the Niners this week, so there
Is
will
that really
be
who they're playing. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, on Thursday,
Yeah,
and I'm Brock Purdy's getting an MRI and all on his oblique. It's that game has a lot of questions in it as of right now, which is Monday.
Bezos just lost another $10 billion off his net worth.
Right. It didn't feel it at all.
No, yeah, true. But
so you have to respect that. Travis Homer played all the snaps basically. Tony Jones, the presumed starter, barely played against Carolina. DJ Dallas was out. DJ Dallas, according to Pete Carroll, will probably not play this Thursday. So I think you can just kind of dismiss him as an option. Travis Homer had 9 rushes for 26 yards, 2 catches on 3 targets for 8 yards. Nevertheless, he was the only back to really see any action. You're not starting him. In 12 teams, you cannot start him. I think what this says is the Seahawks are going to drop back 1 million times against the 49ers.
Which the more Geno Smith has dropped back, the more Geno he becomes.
Yeah, it's not good. The Geno defenders like myself are having a tough couple weeks.
Geno, he's never thrived when the pocket gets dirty and when decisions must be made very quickly. His decisions often take a sack or commit a fumble.
Yeah, against the Panthers, he looked like Jets Geno, which was concerning.
So no need to even entertain playing Travis Homer. 32 team. I mean, even if you're super desperate, do option B. It's first week of the fantasy playoffs. Maybe you're in like a 14-team league. I feel like you've got to have a better option than Travis Homer for the reason you just laid out.
Yeah, I think so, because he saw everything. He saw the whole backfield pie, and it amounted to nothing against the Panthers.
Maybe one of the alternatives could be Jordan Mason, Denny, who he will be facing, is the number 2 back now in the 49ers, seemingly the unquestioned number 2 back in the 49ers. So quarterback Brock Purdy is in kind of injury uncertainty, slashing hybrid change of pace back. Deebo Samuel's out with a high ankle sprain. Could lead to more work for Jordan Mason, we suppose. Also, just a short week to game plan with a rookie quarterback, even if Brock Purdy plays. Kind of a lot of things pointing to maybe a bigger Jordan Mason role. What do we think of Jordan Mason?
Well, look, Kyle Shanahan, he likes to establish it. We know this. Kyle Shanahan may not have a better opportunity this whole season to run the hell out of the ball like he will against a really, really bad Seahawks front seven that has gotten worse over the past month. They have allowed over 2,000 total yards to running backs this season, including over 1,500 rushing yards. Only 3 teams have given up more yardage to rushing yardage to running backs. So Deebo out is big. I think for Mason, and Mason got 11 carries, mostly in garbage time this past week against the Bucs. But I think that he has a chance if game script goes, like we think it will here. I think he has a chance to see double-digit touches against Seahawks.
You said 2,000. They've given up over 2,000. I just heard 2,000. I'm like, it's been 13 games. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to fact check Denny live on air. That's not possible. It is indeed quite possible. What in the friggin' world?
No, it's by many measures. By many measures, this year's Seahawks run defense is historically bad.
It's like, gosh, I guess I hate to do it, but I'm going to have to humiliate Denny on the show and say his stat is wildly wrong. But no, it's horrifyingly right.
Yeah,
And
I'm actually I'm beating myself up today because I really didn't appreciate, I don't think until recently, how bad the Seahawks, how exploitable they have been for
no.
fantasy purposes against running backs. Like just like we target, well, everyone we target against the Bears, we got to start doing that with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, we targeted the Texans too for a while. The Chargers, of course, in the running game. Got to get the Seahawks on the list. Denny Jameson Williams scored a tutty, if you will. A touchdown is what it still technically goes by in the NFL rule book. But still usage quite limited. But is the role growing quick enough to maybe come into some interest for the fantasy playoffs?
You would really have to project a quickly growing role for Jameson Williams in that Detroit offense. He ran 6 routes, Pat, against who they play, the Vikings. 6 routes. Okay. So on those 6 routes, he was targeted twice. He caught one 41-yard touchdown, and that's great. I'm happy for the team. I'm happy for him most of all. But man, 6 routes, like we're gonna have to see a lot more than that. It's not like he ran a route on a third of it. He didn't get the Sky Moore treatment. He got the like, all right, I guess you can go in for a few plays treatment. But maybe if he is ramped up to a point, he will enter maybe a 50% route rate or something in that range, and at that point he becomes a boom bust wide receiver 4 or something. He doesn't threaten DJ Chark's playing time, by the way. He threatens Josh Reynolds playing time, and I just want to be clear about that because that's
un-American.
I've seen some folks say, "Oh, it's over for Chark." That's not the case. It's a 3 wide receiver set for the Lions would ideally look like Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra, and Chark.
But what happened on the Jameson Williams? I saw people saying like he didn't run a route, like he was just kind of like running or something.
It looked to me like he was kind of blocking, and then he started backpedaling down the field, and Goff was like, "Oh, hey."
I mean, was it maybe some sort of elaborate fake or something?
It could have been. It could have been.
That doesn't sound like the kind of thing Goff would notice unless it were planned.
Right. Are you, by the way, are you surprised at this report that the Lions see Goff as their long-term quarterback?
I was actually going to ask you the exact same question. And what I really think it is just like if a guy's like playing well, you're not going to be like, yeah, no, we're still moving on from him, obviously.
Yeah.
Because that pick from the Rams is still top 5, even after the Rams unfortunately for the Rams' sake, beat the Raiders. Rams were really hoping the Raiders to just not have a stunningly hilarious collapse in prime time on Jeff Bezos TV, but they did. And now the pick's a little worse. But I maybe he's played himself into like an Alex Smith situation though.
Yeah,
where he gets another starting year while someone like develops behind him.
I could see that,
but. Because there's also debate. So the Lions offensive coordinator is Ben Johnson, I believe. Is that his name?
That sounds right.
Hopefully that's right. He could get a head coaching job. There's like going to be concern, like how will the Lions offense look after they lose their play caller? But I sort of wonder if like Dan Campbell is still kind of like the brains behind the operation, because everything's been different for the Lions offense since Dan Campbell took over play calling duties late last season. Now, he's not calling the plays this year, but he basically like ordered an audible, I think around Thanksgiving last year, and was like, where he was basically like the Anthony Lynn offense, like this is not working. Like we got to do something like totally different.
Uh-huh.
And ever since then, they've just been a much more fun, creative, and actually good offense. And I would just say to people, I wouldn't be like too worried about them losing their offensive coordinator if he gets a head coaching job. So I think this is just some Dan Campbell magic, folks.
Well, I don't really know what to think about Goff, because if you look at his like underlying metrics, he's 8th in EPA per dropback.
Ooh, like that's a problem.
That's real good. I mean, that's like Garoppolo territory.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean,
and once again, the analytics like a bad quarterback. But I say bad because if you look at his completion rate over expected, he's in line with Russell Wilson. Like and Davis Mills, he's at the bottom, like the very bottom of the rankings there. So I don't think he's changed. I think that he's surrounded by a lot of good pass catching talent, like he was for a time with the Rams, and that can elevate a quarterback like Goff.
Yeah. I think he is just being elevated, but too by his coaching staff. Because I'm looking at the schedule. I mean, even against the Bills, he had a good game. He had a pretty bad game against the Packers. That was a really weird game.
It was.
He had a horrible game against the Cowboys and the Patriots, but so maybe still the same, Jared. They had a pretty easy schedule: the Vikings, the Jaguars, the Giants, the Bears, the Packers, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, there's no way. So what year is it, Denny?
It's 2012.
There's no way Jared Goff is still the Lions starting quarterback in 2024. I'll say that.
Yeah, right.
I'm willing to believe maybe in 2023, but with the draft capital they're going to have, I think they're going to think it's time. They've been so patient where they took the tackle, then they took the wide receiver.
Yeah.
I don't think on their third try they're going to really pass up the quarter, especially since it's kind of like a gift horse pick, like a pick they shouldn't even have.
Yeah, right.
I get the feeling they're finally going to do it this year.
They should. And just please, Dan, if you're listening, do not draft a running back with that pick.
No. And I also think they're just doing what Sean McVay refused to do with Jared Goff, where they're just like being polite and like trying to like give him props at least for like, they know he's in the room, so they're not going to talk bad about him. Whereas like Sean McVay at the end is like, yeah, Jerry like, points, like, come on, like he pokes his head.
Yeah.
Kind of makes like an empty sound. I mean, come on, man.
What am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah, I know exactly. Where the Lions are at least trying to pay deference to the fact that he's having a good season.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, no way. There's no way in hell he's the long-term quarterback in Detroit. Then the long-term tight end. Now the only tight end that matters is Chig Okonkwo. Kind of started out as a meme because he has a difficult to pronounce name, but he had been posting pretty steady stat lines for a while. I mean, now he's legitimately posting tight end one stat lines. 68 yards in week 13. Then against the Jaguars on Sunday, 6 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. And tight end has just been so bad. He said at least 5 targets in 3 straight games. In a really, really bad week for waivers. Is he like maybe like the safest overall ad? I mean, a lot of teams that are already set at tight end aren't going to be looking at Chig Okonkwo, but he feels like maybe like the only like truly potentially difference making ad to me this week even.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I'm writing in my waiver column, which will be live on the site on Tuesday. Whether today's Tuesday or not, we can't say. But he saw increased snaps and routes outside of the heavier formations for Tennessee. So it wasn't just when they had 2 or 3 tight ends on the field. So I think the Titans recognize what they have in Okonkwo. I would also say that usually chasing like insane tight end efficiency doesn't work out for us.
No,
where we did that with a guy I like to call Albert O. We still have to see how that shakes out. But
that's too early to say on that one.
So far, it has not worked, and so I am a little hesitant there. But he's running just enough routes, I think, to stay relevant. If he keeps up that red zone involvement, I think that he can continue this for a bit. But Austin Hooper is still a thing. He's still there. He's still running more routes. He's still seeing more targets. So we have to keep that in mind.
I guess the Chigasance yesterday too. The touchdown did come with Treylon Burks in the concussion protocol.
Yes.
But I mean, this is a team. The Titans desperately need quality targets, and he has been producing them.
Yeah.
So Denny, it's been a light agenda so far. We gotta pad this out a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just going into your column and I'm just to start shouting names.
Okay.
Hold on. This is actually for real. You're writing up Gary Brightwell this week. Tell the folks what team Gary Brightwell is on.
Gary Brightwell is an NFL player who plays for the New York Giants. I feel like a Wikipedia entry right now.
Denny is not reading Wikipedia right now.
No.
He's an American football running back for the National Football Conferences.
That's right. The New York Football Giants, I should point out. I think that he's the guy to roster if and when the Giants, either rest Saquon Barkley.
Don't speak that into existence.
Why, dude? I mean, he's hurt. He has a neck injury. He barely played against the Eagles.
Well, by the way, it's not happening this week on NBC Sunday night, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Commanders Giants.
Tune in to see Saquon Barkley.
So, no, they really won't be resting it. They're still alive for the playoffs right now.
Right. And so my thought is, like, if the season really does go into the toilet for the Giants next week and then the week after that, I think Brightwell, and then they say, okay, fine, we're not going to, risk Saquon and his neck injury in week 17, which is fantasy championship week. I think Brightwell is the guy. He's actually had some decent runs. I mean, he only has like 15 rushes on the season, so it's very small sample size. But I do think that he's the guy over Matt Breida. Although Matt Breida will probably be the passing down back. But here's the thing about the Giants: they don't pass. So you're gonna want Brightwell if Barkley sits.
Danny, I see in your own column you're putting yourself on blast where you say, I may or may not have told you 2 months ago that Raheem Blackshear is the Panthers' best backfield option. Apparently, are you saying he's 0% rostered? So I'm not sure many people followed you down the well and that advice, but are you saying to add him now?
Well, the Carolina backfield is now an ugly three-way split between Chuba Hubbard, Deontay Foreman, and Blackshear. And Blackshear is good. He's team preseason, he was good in college. So stop yelling at me. Stop trying to silence me. Against the Seahawks, he had 32 yards and a touchdown on 4 carries. He led Carolina backs in pass routes. So he has that going for him. What I'm saying is,
he actually is decent. He is a decent player.
I think he's good. I think that he's a Khalil Herbert-esque. I think that if either Hubbard or Foreman get dinged up in the next 2 or 3 weeks, Blackshear becomes very interesting in a Carolina offense that, I can't emphasize this enough, refuses to pass the ball. I mean, their pass rate over expected is off the charts low. It's like lower. It makes the Bears look like the Chiefs. So even if Blackshear doesn't end up getting like the whole workload, of course, no one can handle 40 carries. That was just what he would need to do. That I think that he could still be interesting for fantasy.
I couldn't help but notice you didn't write up any quarterbacks. Maybe you just haven't gotten to them yet.
We're working on that.
But so you probably will, I'm assuming, correct?
We will have some quarterbacks.
No one would fault you if you didn't, though, because it is probably the worst quarterback streaming week I've seen all year, where maybe the 2 most exciting options would be Mike White against the Lions or Brock Purdy against the Seahawks, but they both have like very serious injury questions. And are you really going to be able to spend fab on guys who you don't really know if they're going to be able to play? Because like Mike White against the Lions, that's kind of a pretty appealing spot there. That could be a shootout.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy against the Seahawks, same deal, but there's just a chance by Tuesday evening when bids are due, you're not going to have any idea. And then it's like Ryan Tannehill against the Chargers. It's Mac Jones against the Raiders. Baker Mayfield or something against the Packers. Desmond Ridder. So it is really, hope you're not streaming quarterbacks the first week of the fantasy playoffs, because there are not many options.
That well, you know who was shaping up to be a pretty nice play this week, Pat, is one Russell Wilson.
I know. Who are they playing?
They're playing the Cardinals, the ultimate pass funnel defense. And Russell, over the past 2 weeks before that head injury, was looking pretty good. So,
well, hold on, let's not get carried away. It was 27-0 before he finally started throwing some touchdowns against the Chiefs. But
I only think in terms of fantasy. Okay, I don't care. I don't care that he struggled, that he looked like the worst quarterback in the league for 2 quarters.
Before he threw any touchdowns to the Broncos, he threw one to Willie Gay on the Chiefs, and one of the most hilarious plays of the entire year, where he then tried to tackle Willie Gay and looked like a Pee Wee League player. It was so bad.
I thought that the Broncos were going to complete that comeback, and it would have been one of the more stunning things I've ever seen in sport.
It would have been like the Chiefs, kind of like the Golden State Warriors, like they just like turned it off at halftime. Like you notice this stuff? Like they're still trying or something.
Yeah. I will say that Travis Kelce embodied that feeling, or that sense. Kelce was like, laughing it up, having a good time with the boys in the first quarter.
Yeah, Mahomes will occasionally go into like Steph Curry mode.
Like, Travis, really, man, keep your head in this game, man. He dropped 3 balls. He dropped a touchdown. I mean, Travis Kelce should have had 35 fantasy points yesterday, and he had like 9.
I actually didn't know that. Kind of triggered by that.
Yeah, my DFS lineups are triggered by that.
Speaking of triggered, we got to trigger everyone. It's time to talk about the kicker of the week, Denny.
Let's go. Well, all right. I'm not going to talk about
Robbie Gould. No, you're already qualifying.
Because Robbie Gould's 45% roster, so I don't want anybody to say not in my league. Robbie Gould was drafted in the 6th round in my league. But Robbie Gould is a great play. You got to play him on Thursday night. Yeah, we're going back to Joey Sly, folks. Okay, Joey Sly never missed arm day. Plays for the Commanders.
I was gonna say what team he's on. I can never remember if he's the Commanders or Panthers.
I know you always think he's the Panthers. Plays for the Commanders. Commanders are at home, 3.5-point favorites, and no one wins at Washington. Okay, no one goes into Washington and wins. Actually, everybody does, and they have no fans. And 75% of that stadium is going to be Giants fans. But no matter, the Giants are giving up, the 3rd most field goal attempts on the season and a league high 3.9 red zone possessions per game. We're rolling out Joey Sly, folks.
Yeah, field goals will be settled for in this game. And beautiful, crystal clear 4K on NBC at 8:20 p.m. Hopefully we have a 4K broadcast. I don't actually know if we do. 8:20 p.m. Eastern Sunday night. Okay, Adam, we do have a 4K broadcast, thankfully. So, seemed like something we would have.
Yeah, but, seems like the National Broadcasting Corporation.
I don't have a 4K TV yet. At least I don't think I do. My TV is pretty nice, actually.
Well, like I told you the other day, I have to look into what 4K is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you for revealing I've been making 4K jokes. Sorry. Wasn't even the first 4K joke you've had to endure.
I have to figure out 2 things. What's 4K and what's 5G? I don't know it either.
Yeah, I almost sounded like a Twitter meme. We used to have Hope, Jobs, and whatever the other one was.
Oh, and Cash.
Yeah, Cash.
Yeah, there you go.
Now all we have is 4K, 5G, and
actually, my kid the other day said I caught him in 4K. He told me that, and I said,
really?
What? He said, I caught him red-handed, Dad.
Interesting.
I said, okay, I need you to not use terms I don't know.
That's so scary. My kids aren't old enough to use slang yet. So not looking forward to that.
No, it's not fun.
Not looking forward to the end of the show, but it is here.
Yes.
We have to end it because there's nothing else to talk about.
All right.
And it's kind of a miracle we made it this far. But so for Denny, whose waiver wired article will be out by the time you're listening to this. Check it out on Tuesday. For Denny, I'm Pat. Early ranks will be up on Tuesday. Thanks for listening. I'll be back on Tuesday with Lawrence and Kyle Dvorchak, or is it Tuesday? I don't actually know. So thank you for listening. We'll be back later.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.